Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker, owner and proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, the market has certainly changed in the last year, causing some people to wonder if their home will sell quickly and at a good price. Many home sellers want to bet on the sure thing, a cash buyer versus a buyer getting a loan. Do home sellers get less money when they're selling to a cash buyer versus a traditional buyer?
Well, not necessarily, actually. I think that, in general, people don't sell homes very often, and everybody has different motivations. If they're not in a big hurry, then it's okay to put it on the market and test the market and see what we can get. But people reach a point where like they're just done with this, especially if it's not selling. And so there is this perception out there that if you sell your home to a cash buyer, you're going to leave some money on the table. And that's not necessarily true. Sometimes our fee structure is a little bit higher than a traditional real estate sale. But, here coming in a few weeks, I'm heard that our local MLS is going to turn off the commission to the buyer's agent probably on sometime. It's not going to be the 17th. I believe it's going to be a couple of days after that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, when they do that, then the buyer's agent is going to have to negotiate for their own fee, right? So I would tell sellers, plan on building that in. They're gonna ask for something. You just got to figure out what something you want to pay, and then the buyer's agent can maybe negotiate for the balance to be paid by that buyer. And it's interesting. I was just talking to a home seller that's not originally from this country. And where he came from, he goes, yeah, the buyer pays their agent fee and the seller pays their agent fee. But that's not been the case in the US for years and years and years. It's been all the seller paying all of those fees. So that's going to change our world just a little bit. And it could affect sales. Like there could be some buyers that sign a commitment that the agent convinces them, oh, don't worry, the seller's going to pay my fee. And then what happens if they don't? Do they have to pivot to another house? I don't know. But if they sign an agreement that the seller's going to pay and then the seller doesn't pay, it's going to be really interesting. I'm pretty excited about this change. But when you sell to a cash buyer, now let me define that. There are investor cash buyers, or there's live in the home cash buyers. There are people that have enough cash to pay cash for houses. And those are great if you can get them, but it does represent less than 10% of the sales out there. And the good part of accepting a cash offer versus somebody that's getting financing is basically you don't have to worry about the buyer getting their loan approved. Sometimes that could derail a transaction. You don't have to worry about a third-party opinion of value, which is an appraisal. So if the sales price doesn't match the appraisal, then they could end up in the middle of the transaction walking back the price or walking away from the deal altogether, which would be horrible. It's no fun. It occasionally happens. But there are some cash buyers, and these are usually big real estate investment trusts. These are people with lots of money. And in general, their intention is not to buy and hold it or buy and rent it out. Their intention is to flip it. So they probably will come in a little bit below current market value, and they might charge a little bit more fee. But I can tell you the most comforting thing for many, many home sellers is to know for sure when they sign the contract that they're going to go to the finish line. And sometimes and most of the time, you don't get that with a traditional sale. A traditional sale, once you go under contract, woohoo, that's great. You have a contract. Most sellers are packing, getting ready to move, and they're thinking it's a done deal. But then, oh, they do an inspection and they ask for stuff that could blow up the deal. Oh, they have an appraisal and they ask for stuff that could blow up the deal. Oh, what if their loan doesn't get approved? What if this? What if that? I actually had a few weeks ago, I had a buyer that walked away from the closing table 2 days before closing. Now the seller had already moved out of her house, right? But fortunately, we had a bidding war on that house. We were able to pivot to all the other buyers, and we ended up selling it right away for more money, and it only delayed it about a week or two. However, nobody wants that to happen, right? And so people really love what I call certainty, right? And that's part of what a cash buyer can get you. It may or may not be full market value. And we're actually the only firm in town that shows up with multiple cash offers, and we could get you some more. So we can even negotiate with those buyers. So that's one of our uniques, and we love to bring it to our home sellers. Whether they plan to take a cash buyer or not, it doesn't matter. The whole idea is to give them options, because if a seller has a lot of options and choices, then the chances of them getting the most money or getting their goals is either to sell now or sell later are much higher. And in general, the home sale process is a rather large project. It's not like going to CarMax and selling a home. It's not the same thing. It's gotten pretty complicated. The contract to buy and sell contracts that the state gives you now is over 21 pages long. And there are two provisions in the contract that allows the buyer, no matter if they close or not, to get their earnest money back even if they walk away at the finish line. Did you know that, Richard?
I had no idea about that. I mean, that's why it is so valuable talking to somebody who's got the experience like you do. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, I have to explain this to my clients all the time. I'm like, well, it says here that if they don't object over their loan, the earnest money is non-refundable. But then there's another paragraph that says if the buyer and seller break up and they don't reach agreement in writing about what happens to the earnest money, and there's no decision with the court, which it takes a district court judge to order the release of the earnest money. At least that was my experience. After 120 days, they just give the deposit back to the buyer, regardless of what happened or how far you are in the process. So imagine you're a home seller. You've moved out of your home for this buyer and they walk away at the last minute. I mean, it's the worst. Now, I have tips and tricks for my clients to protect them against those issues that the state has set up. They made it a very buyer-friendly state. So that's part of why a cash offer, it's one of the benefits of a cash offer, because you kind of know it's going to happen. They just send their money and you close, and it's a good thing. So the typical steps to sell a home, typically you meet with a realtor, you figure out, what your home is worth. You kind of get a plan as far as when you're going to go on the market. What do you need to go on the market? And for a lot of people, it's a massive, overwhelming project. That's why you have to kind of take it one bite at a time to make it happen. And we help people do that all the time. Some people I've met with, they say, hey, well, I'm selling in 3 years. And I'm like, that's fine. Let us take pictures while your grass is green, and then we'll reconvene when you're ready. It's okay. It's whenever it works for you is fine. But if you do have us come out, we're going to ask you a couple of questions like, what have you done to improve the home? What do you think it's worth? And we ask some other questions about the house so we can give them a really accurate opinion of what their home would sell for in comparison with other homes that are selling and other current listings that are on the market right now. And we do what's called an in-home consultation, and we give our home sellers tips on what to do and what not to do to get their house ready for sale. I mean, some people make these assumptions that certain improvements are going to get them all this money, and it doesn't translate. I hate to say this. I know a lot of people are probably going to say something about this on YouTube, but I don't believe a solar system adds value. I hate to say this because I know people invest a lot of money in those systems. It reduces their electric bill. Okay, fine. Typically, they cost between $35,000 and $50,000. So if you take your electric bill and you divide it by, say, 25 years or however long it takes you to divide your electric bill by that cost, at the end of 25 years, the product is going to be outdated and you're going to need some kind of new system to run the solar system. But the weirdest thing to me, and if I had this empirical data, I would say it, But the truth is the buyer's response to having a solar system on the home is kind of like, oh, that's nice, but I'm not going to pay more money just because it's already there. But I am going to insist that it's fully paid for out of the closing. So you should think twice before you do those systems. I think in certain climates, they are great. Like we have one on a house that we own out in the desert in California. And yeah, those electric bills can be over $800, $900 a month if you don't have solar. But around here, it's pretty stable. It's not necessary. So that's part of what we do. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. So if you can't remember the phone number, go to barbhasthebuyers.com and we'll be sure to take care of it. Richard?
We're talking about the how a home seller knows their home is sold, whether they decide on a cash offer or a traditional sales process. Barb, tell us about how homes are sold with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty.
Well, Richard, once you agree to let us handle the sale, we have to have a written agreement to do that. And effective this month, even buyers have to have a written agreement just to look at homes. So don't be surprised by that, but do read what's being put in front of you because sometimes they use different forms for that. And we'll sit down, we'll go over everything that we do to get homes sold, and you get to choose. Do you take a cash offer and not worry about it? Or do you go the traditional sales route and see what the open market will get you? And a lot of people worry, am I going to have to sign a long-term agreement? Am I committed to that agent for 6 months or whatever? We don't do that. We want five-star reviews. We want happy customers. So we provide you with systems and checklists all along the way of the process. So there's no surprises that happen. However, some people will some agents will hold you to agreements and they will require that you kind of exhaust that contract before you make a change. Now, if they're not behaving and not doing what they said they could do, you could terminate for cause. We also offer what's called a certified pre-owned home program. That takes away some of the landmines in the sales process. What I mean by that is, you put your house on the market, you got it all pretty ready to go. A buyer says, yes, I love it. I want to make an offer. Boom, they make an offer. You go under contract. Everybody's happy. And then stuff happens. Guess what happens? The buyer does the inspection. They ask for a new sewer line. They ask for a new roof. They ask for fries with that too. Sometimes they ask for upgrades. And it kind of derails the whole plan, or it could derail the whole plan. And oh, yeah, guess what? If the seller wants to move forward, they got to reach in their pocket and pay for it. That's a problem. Sellers want certainty. They want to know that they're going to pass their inspection. So that's part of what our pre-owned home program actually does for home sellers. And if you are thinking of making a move and you would like to find out what we do to get your home sold for top dollar, and take a look at least 5 or 6 cash offers on the first time that we meet, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and owner proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or go ahead and visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about how do you choose the very best real estate agent, plus Barb's hot new listings. You want to make sure to hear those.